All right, Jason, I know you're here to talk about, UFOs and other crazy stuff. But I want to continue this conversation. And you did the research for a show that we did on the FDA.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And I think this is the kind of stuff that I want RFK to dismantle. I want him to dismantle the money going back and forth from the drug companies, the revolving door, then Bush, God, why would I think of him? Trump is doing this with big tech too. You work for the government. You are not going to work for big tech for 10 years. Good. Same thing should be true with pharmaceutical companies and big food. And here's why. Fruit Loops comes to the FDA and they say, we want to make a new product called Fruit Loops. And we want to make some of them yellow. So we need, yellow number 5?
One of those numbers.
Yeah, one of those numbers.
It sounds like concentration camp chemical, really, whatever it is. They're all numbered.
Yellow number 5. And
delicious concentration camp chemicals.
So the FDA says, okay, well, you have to prove that yellow number 5 is good, is okay to put in. They don't take a percentage of how many people have we said yellow number 5 is okay for. So if it's in everybody's food, that changes all the calculations. But forget about that. We're only talking about Fruit Loops. So they say, you have to show us the study. So now think of global warming. The food company goes to their group of known and trusted scientists and say, we need a study that shows yellow number 5 is safe. And they're like, oh, we're going to do that study. It's going to be fair and balanced and totally on the up and up.
You seem skeptical.
A little bit. Just like I am with studies that are paid for by the people who are going to benefit from that study. It's not neutral. Mm-hmm. The FDA then is given that study after it comes back and says yellow number 5 is fine. They're given that study. And so the FDA says, okay, so the study, you got the scientists to approve. And it was a really tough fight. They really dug deep. Okay, good. We'll approve it. Give us, how much money is it? You remember?
Oh, it's insane, but it's per batch.
Yeah, so it's not just, we've proven it, so okay this for Fruit Loops. It's every time that they have to, they make a new batch of Fruit Loops and they're pouring yellow number 5 in, they have to apply for a new license for that batch. Mm-hmm. Okay? Well, wait, it's either good or it's not. Why? Let me ask you something. Why do you keep coming to me and giving me all this money? You know what I mean? Maybe someday I can do something for you, you know? Mm-hmm. Maybe, hey, I got a job opening. Maybe one of you guys want to come over here and police things with us. That's the problem. And that's what I hope they get rid of.
Are you looking for the FDA to do more or less in this process?
I'm looking for somebody that is neutral.
Right, but I'm asking specifically the FDA, which I guess in this theory, we're in this concept here, we're calling FDA neutral, which I don't know that we necessarily agree with, but in theory, they're the neutral party here, which is I think has all sorts of problems. So like I think what you're describing is a funding mechanism, right? FDA is massive; it costs a lot of money, correct, and they're paying for the FDA to continue to go.
Half of the money from the FDA, okay, half of their budget comes from food and pharmaceutical companies.
Right. So, like, let's say if you stopped that, you'd cut the FDA in half.
Yes.
And that's the direction we're looking for. We want less input from the FDA.
I want less input from the FDA, and I want an end to the revolving door and the obvious corruption that's coming from money.
So when you say a funding issue, that translated is a crony issue. This is everything that the left used to hate. Everything.
Oh, yeah.
It's everything. Like I'm a libertarian more than anything else. I guess I'm libertarian light. Mm. So when I first heard about this, I got the person that actually did the bulk of this research was one of the biggest hippies on our team, and you know who I'm talking about. One of the biggest hippies. And I was like,
smoke. You know who it is. Mm-hmm. Dope smoking Kev.
Not that one. The other big hippie.
Oh, okay.
But when I was like, food, I don't give a crap. I don't give a, like, if I want to poison my body, I want to poison my body. But then when it got me was when I saw the cronyism angle. And that's why I don't get libertarians on this.
Yeah.
This is everything they hate and the left hate used to be about big government. They are getting rich off of an alliance with a lot of these companies.
And it appears as though science takes a backseat. They're sitting in the back of the bus.
The experts, and you can apply this to everything that we hate now about big government, like climate.
Yeah.
Anything else. The push for blah, 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 blah from the progressive agenda right now, where they say, oh, but the experts are telling us this. Well, the experts are employed by the people pushing their poison.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and it's paid directly to...
If you understand why we have a problem with climate science, just take what you know about climate science, that this is all being done by the people who want this to be real because they want the money to keep coming in. You're not denying the planet is getting, is going to kill us all within, 5 minutes. You're not getting any money if your study comes out and says, no, that's not true. You don't get money. So the scientists sometimes will come back with the results that the people paying for it want.
This would be like if Elon Musk wants to sell his EVs, and he produces this huge report saying that the world is spontaneously going to combust in just 2 years unless you adhere to his research that his scientists did and trust us. It's great.
And by the way, the lithium battery study that I just did, fires don't start with lithium batteries.
Totally,
There's not a problem.
Good. Yeah.
So the issue is that you believe that these food companies are proving things that are theoretically not helpful or that are harmful, and then they're producing these studies and they're giving them to the FDA, and the FDA is just approving them. So the FDA is not. The FDA. I'm sketchy on this one. You might be able to help me out on this. The FDA made the food pyramid that we've all grown up saying this is absolutely right. They designed that through the food companies. Okay. So
it should be through science and through knowing what is.
So who's doing these studies if the food companies aren't paying for them? Who's paying for them?
The food companies are.
The food companies paying for them.
I'm
saying in your vision of the future.
I think there could be a tax on these food companies or pharmaceutical companies.
So they would still be paying for them.
They'd still be paying for them, but they're not picking the scientist, and it's not just the scientists at General Foods say.
So you want a larger role for the FDA then?
It should be on the FDA.
Because they're deciding who
they're the regulator.
Are.
They are the regulator. It should be on them to prove if it's safe or not.
Aren't you answering your own questions why libertarians don't like it? You're arguing for a larger role for the FDA. That's why they don't like it.
Larger responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. My vision, I'm much more on the side of the FDA has nothing to do with this. Like, I would much rather have the FDA basically shut down and not have any role in this whatsoever. Now, that is it's an old school American view, but it is. I don't like government control of this stuff and government input. I think that's why the libertarians don't like it, right? Like what they're doing now, if I'm understanding this correctly, is that the companies are basically on their own to come up with science that proves this, and the FDA basically goes along with it
for money.
Right? But again,
and jobs.
Half of their budget, right? The other alternative to fund that half of the budget is taxpayers. That's the other alternative.
Or taxing the food companies.
Okay, yeah.
And the pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, you want this service.
Either way, we're paying for it eventually, right?
No,
we're paying for it in our food, or we're paying for it in our taxes. Like, so again, I can understand the problems with this, and this, of course, is true, right? Companies constantly produce science that helps themselves. It happens in global warming and everything else. I just think that, like, I'm concerned. Here's my concern. I don't want I'm from a conservative movement that doesn't want the federal government to make me healthy.
I'm
from a vision of conservatism that doesn't want the federal government to make me anything.
Correct.
This is a line in the sand for me, and I know a lot of people don't care about it, but I am from the conservative movement that yells at Michael Bloomberg for getting rid of large sodas. That's me.
That's me too.
That is 100% me. I've seen Jason too much at Taco Bell to know that he is. I know he's on my side on that part of it.
I don't want the government to tell me what I can eat, what I can't eat. But I would like some science to say, hey, Stu, not good. And not from Monsanto, and not necessarily from the government that wants to control everything.
Yeah.
There should be a way to get neutral science, but we don't have that now. And honestly,
there's been a lot of neutral science produced about food coloring. A lot of it.
Yeah.
You can choose whether to like those studies. There has been some that have some indications of negative aspects. There have been many that have been like, doesn't seem like there's much here. But that being said, the government comes in, and if the government approves a study, is that now gospel? I don't think that's what we want. I think
science is always changing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
It's
of course,
evolving.
But our understanding of it is always changing.
Our
science doesn't change. I am concerned because, look, this is a guy, RFK Jr., who has a very strong opinion on a lot of things. And it is not my disagreement with him is that, well, scientific consensus says X, Y, and Z, therefore he's bad. That's not what my belief is at all. He has in his head his own consensus. And he is going to try, I believe, I am concerned about that he is going to apply his mental consensus over a lot of things that I don't necessarily want changed. I want to make the decisions for myself. And as long as we live in a world where what he winds up doing with this role is saying, hey, you can sell raw milk all over the place, I'm not going to be concerned about it at all.
Here's the thing. I learned this 50 years ago, 40 years ago. It's never a problem if you're selling a Volkswagen and the client buys it and you've paid for a Volkswagen and it runs like a Rolls Royce.
No, it's great.
If you buy a Rolls Royce and it runs like a Volkswagen, there's hell to be paid.
Yes.
So what he is selling us, his Rolls Royce that he is selling us right now, is we're going to cut regulation. We're going to get out and make things your choice and give you the transparency that you need to make good choices. But we're not going to force anybody to do anything. Okay? That's the Rolls Royce that he's promising. If he starts to run the Volkswagen way, which is more federal regulation, less choice, then there'll be hell to be paid because that's not what you're selling us right now.
Yeah, I think.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Look, he's going to do some things I'm really going to like. I'm sure of it.
I think it's baby steps. I would love to get rid of the FDA as well. You know me. I would love to just dismantle 95% of the bureaucracy. But let's take baby steps. Let's at least start with, let's not let them collude with big food, big pharma and all that, make a ton of money off of our expense. I'd love to just start there.
I actually think, he has said himself the FDA should be shut down. And he said 90% of it should be shut down immediately. I'm all for that. I don't need a baby step. I'm ready. Okay, let's do that. But let's just know what we're trying to do here is to make the government accountable to the people and giving the people their own rights back that we stupidly gave to the federal government.